بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك وأنعم على سيدنا محمد طب القلوب ودوائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وروح الأرواح وسر بقائها وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. It was such a wonderful talk from Shaykh Muhammad about dhikr and fikr. It's really amazing to know what dhikr is and what fikr is. When Shaykh Muhammad was saying, Allahu hadri, Allahu nadri, Allahu ma'i. Allahu hadri, Allahu nadri, Allahu ma'i. But am I with Allah? I know for sure He is with me. But am I with Him? And I think this is really the task of every one of us, is to be in hudur and to be with the ma'iyah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although we know that laysa kamithlihi shay, is nothing like Allah. It's not like a body or something that can say He is with me, I can hold Him or I can see Him. He is none of that. Laysa kamithlihi shay. Nothing is like Him. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik wa an'am ala sayyidina Muhammad. Thank you very much, Shaykh, on this lovely exposure that you gave us this morning. What I really would like to share with you this morning is some aspects, some reflections about our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Maybe a bit of his seerah, maybe a bit of his life, maybe a bit of his character. I just want to share these points with you. Allah says in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Our beloved Prophet was not a mercy to the people of Mecca or Medina, but he came with a message for all the world. And when we say the world, it is not like the world of different countries, but it's also the plant, also the animals, also the insects. All of these are within the rahmah of Allah. And Allah has entrusted all this into His Khalifa, our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So whenever we think of our Prophet, we should think of him as an international event. Not an event was for the people of Mecca or the people of Medina, as the previous prophets that came were for their own people. Nabi Allah Isa, for example, he was really for Bani Israel. He was not rahmatan lil alameen, for all the world. He was there to correct, he was there to instruct, to remind the people of Israel who is Allah, who is the Lord, for them to come back to the true tradition of the message. There is another issue which I would like to mention to you, is that when we say tuhibbun Allah, and we say that we love the Prophet, how do I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do I go there and embrace Him and kiss His hand? To love Allah is to obey Him, is to obey His command, is to obey the message that He has so well put easy for us in a tablet, in a book. And also, what does it mean that we love the Prophet? The Prophet is not with us now, but we say we love the Prophet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He made the exposure of the Quran, it was so much not expressed clearly. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to explain, to express the various aspects of the Quran, especially the ibadat. When the Quran mentions salat, how do we do our salat? When do we do it? How many times? So our love of the Prophet is really following his seerah, following his practice. So this is our love for the Prophet and also our love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the practical issue of love. Then Allah said for every nation He sent a prophet that speaks their own language. Otherwise, it's no point to bring somebody who can speak another language and try to guide the people. So the Prophet ﷺ was given that message, which is in Arabic, And that is really a big issue, the tablet, the book of Islam, the book of Rahman. Then the Prophet says, خير ما قلته أنا والنبيون من قبلي لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. So this is the eternal message of all the prophets is لا إله إلا الله, لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. Because this is important, that you do not have anything to do with shirk in your heart or in your mind. Sometimes the shirk is khafi. Sometimes the shirk is not so much apparent, so much open, somebody in shirk. Something when you think you have done something, or you have given something, you as a person, this is shirk khafi, because everything that you have, everything that comes to you is really from Allah, and this is what you are doing, is you are sharing. So the Quran was really the guide, was really the program for our beloved Prophet ﷺ, because he imbibed, he absorbed, he lived the Quran, and he died in the practice or in the knowledge of Quran. All his character, whether he was eating, whether he was sleeping, whether he was interacting with people, all of these were very clear that he was following the Quran all the time. And he gave us the most beautiful message in his Hajjat al-Wada', his last Hajj with all his people. And he realized that it was almost the end of his time. So he wanted to have all the Muslims around and to give them his advice. So he gave this sermon in this Hajj that he had. And the main emphasis were on two things. One is to look after the ladies, after the women. And second, he said, I leave with you two things, the Quran and the Sunnah. If you follow them, you will never get astray. So that is the gift that we had from our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If we only look at the Prophet, see how he treated his family, how he loved them, and how he cherished and loved his grandsons, Imam Hussein and Hassan. The children used to go on top of his back when he was praying. And with all his love, he wouldn't finish his prayers so that they will not be disturbed. They were still riding on his back. So this is really the character of our beloved Prophet. Our Prophet used to have somebody in the neighborhood where he was, a little girl. As soon as he comes, she sees him, she rushes to him and holds his hand. And she goes with him from one door to another. And he just gives her up. Let her take him all these places. And when she is finished, she let go. He wouldn't say no, go away or anything like that. He was a man of a big heart. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. The greatest honor that the Prophet had is when he was taken in his Isra and his Mi'raj. And this is his Mi'raj when he was in a situation into the highest, most divine realm. It was to the point where Jibreel alayhi salam says, this is my limit. I cannot go any further. So he let the Prophet move forward while he stayed behind. And this is really an honor, because nobody has reached that level. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would not take his eye up. He always looked at his feet. That was the adab that he was practicing in the presence of the light. And this is something that for us to realize, there is in hudur, there is sacredness. And this is something we have to think of whenever we are in true hudur, when we are in wudu, when we are in salat, when we are in fikr. It is really sacred, because otherwise it is child's play. You must be حضور. You must have your heart with you whenever you are in this particular situation. So our Prophet had his wisdom even before he was a prophet, before he had the revelation, before he had the task. And I'm sure most of us remember the story of our beloved Prophet when he was entrusted to resolve a problem, a big problem, when the people of Mecca were building the place for the Hajar. They were all fighting, they were all disagreeing who's going to take the Hajar in his hand and put it in the new place. And it was serious until the Prophet came and they said, we will ask him for advice. And with the Prophet wisdom, he just put this stone on a piece of cloth on his Abba, and then asked all the leaders of all the various tribes, each one would have the end of this Abba, and all of them together went from one place to another. And when they were near the place where they want to put it, he took it by his own hand and put it there. Now, this black stone that we all eager to go and Mecca and kiss it or feel it or even do salam. This Hajar that was gifted from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the angel Jibreel, gave it to the first person who would put the place was Nabi Allah Ibrahim. And they mention in the hadith or in, I don't know, hadith, in various knowledge that comes to us, that this black stone is called black, but it was white before, when it was pure from people's sins, and the blackness comes because of the people's sins, but otherwise it is white. Now, what I read about this stone, that at one time there was a fire, and because of the fire and the upheaval, the stone broken into 3 pieces. Not one, it's 3 pieces. And then there's a certain time in the history of Muslims, that stone was stolen and was taken all the way nearly to Bahrain. And it was there for many years that people would go to Mecca and without the stone. But these people who stole it, after a number of years, they decided, they would take it back. But when they took it back, it was not in 3 pieces anymore, it was in 7 pieces. So what I want to share with you is that black stone, as we know it or we talk about it, it's not 1 piece. Now it is in 7 pieces, put in a casket, in a silver casket, where it is now, where people touch it, where people kiss it, where people do salam, which is really very, very noble. But what does Qibla mean? When we say Qibla, is something like direction. Now, Qibla is also the root of the same letters is Qubla, which is a kiss. Now, can you imagine that this stone, this object, that people adorned it and respected it and fought to push to go there to kiss that stone? Can you imagine that your lips, when you touch the stone, you are kissing it? At the same time, you are kissing, accepting all the people who came before you, honoring this stone, including the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when you put your lips on that, you are touching his lips. And this is the honor, this is the value of this stone, although a lot of people almost worship it, but it really is a symbol, it's a direction, it's a qibla for all the Muslims, for all the people of heart, to look into this direction and to say La ilaha illallah, because this is the true worship, is to have hudur, is to have a feeling that your heart is there. You put your hand on your heart, that means something is fine, something is divine is touching or coming into your heart. The Prophet ﷺ was certain about his message. In the early days of Mecca, when they wanted to sway him, when they said, look, we'll give you anything, just don't do what you are doing by telling us there is only one God. They tried and they tried and they tried, his relatives, his uncle, to persuade him not to. But he says, if they give me the sun and the moon, I will not change. So he was so certain about his message, so certain about the revelation that he had. He was a simple man, a very contented man. In the morning, before he does anything, asks his wife, do we have food? If she says yes, he will have breakfast. And if she says no, he said, I am fasting today. So this is our beloved Prophet, lived from one day to another in the hudur. It's not expectation. He didn't have any expectation for somebody to give him lots of money or lots of this or lots of that. He was content with what he has in his hand. So he was a man of real. He's not a man of thinking that something will happen. He lived that moment. He lived the moment that he was in. He tried to take his message to Raouf, in near town, near place where he was. And he went trying to speak to their leaders and telling them about La ilaha illallah. They all laughed at him and they all threw him out and let the children throw stones on him. In fact, he was bleeding. And when he was leaving, Nabi Allah Jibreel appeared to him. He said, shall I take these people and crush them? All of them. He said, no. Maybe one day, one of their children will come out and say, La ilaha illallah. So he would not revenge, he will not ask this mighty angel to do this task of obliterating or destroying, killing all these people. He said, no, they're not Muslims, I know, but one day, one of them will have a child, will have a son or a girl, will say La ilaha illallah. Can you imagine that this beloved Prophet think so much ahead, so much have rahmah to the people, even Muslims or non-Muslims. His wisdom and his tact and his leadership so much appeared in the Sulh al-Hudaybiyah when he wanted to go and do Umrah in Mecca. The people there wouldn't let him. And of course they would not recognize him as a prophet. So after a long sort of negotiations, they decided to have an agreement. The agreement to say that this year they will not have access to Mecca for their exercise of Hajj or Umrah. And then they agreed to have this thing in writing. So it was Imam Ali and Umar were involved in this transaction because they were with him. And Imam Ali wrote this Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim and put the agreement, and at the end says, this is by Muhammad Rasulullah. And the people of Quraysh, they looked at it, they said, look, we do not believe in ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, we only have so many. And then there was a bit of difficulty that this agreement, because that agreement was vital to the Prophet, because that was a recognition of the people of Islam that they have a community that come and demand And before that, the people of Quraysh were persecuting all the Muslims that were taking Islam at the beginning. So them, they would not agree to Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the Prophet said, fine, say Bismihi ta'ala. They agreed. As far as the Prophet is concerned, what's the difference? Bismihi ta'ala, they agreed. And at the end, when the signature was to be from or by Muhammad Rasulullah, they said, we do not accept you as a Rasulullah. And he said, put Muhammad bin Abdullah. So really it solved a big problem by common sense. But the most important thing, it was him being recognized, for his community being recognized as people, as separate from the people of Quraysh, or people who did not believe. It is another thing altogether, and that was a great thing for Islam to pass that hurdle. And then when they went into Mecca, at the end when they came in, there was not one drop of blood was shed. The Prophet ﷺ, when he came in and went through the Kaaba, destroying all the idols, people of Quraysh there, they were all scared. What is he going to do to them? Because a lot of them, were nasty. They were very much sort of anti-Islamic in their behavior, in their dealing with the Muslims. They tortured them. They did all kinds of things. But the Prophet ﷺ, he knew these are his people. And when they asked him, what are you going to do to us? He said, I will love you and I will cherish you. And none of them were taken and killed that you can see these days in these revolutions. He says, Antum al-tulaqa, you are free. You are free. And none of them was ever taken out and harmed. In fact, the most critical thing, the most beautiful thing that happened, that the people brought the key of the Kaaba, symbolic, to any person of honor. They come and give him the key, so he takes the key. You think he's taken the key and give it to one of his Sahaba? No. He said, the person who brought the key said, you keep it. So kept the continuity, kept the line of leadership among his people. So much to the extent that Abu Sufyan, the man who was his real enemy, he was his enemy. He said, anybody who goes into the house of Abu Sufyan, he is safe. Can you imagine that the Prophet ﷺ and his community suffered from this man for so many years of mischief, of conniving, of killing, of preventing the message, preventing Muslims to do anything. They put them outside the Mecca for a long time. But he said, anybody goes to the house of Abu Sufyan, he is safe. So can you imagine the community? So much love, so much between them, completely, all the differences between them completely melt. So anybody who didn't know what Islam is, he could see Islam so much clear right in front of us. The Prophet ﷺ, when he went first to Medina, he was invited by the people of Medina. But in those days, Medina had tribes and they were always fighting. Al-Aws, Al-Khazraj, and many others, and they were always not in agreement. So they wanted the Prophet to come to help them. So when the Prophet went, all along, each one tribe said, you come and stay with us. So that if he does, that means he's favoring them and not favoring others. He said, no, I'm not stopping here. I will leave it to my camel. Wherever my camel stops, that will be my place. So he's removed the responsibility of deciding where to stop and where to have his first mosque. He decided to leave it to his camel. So when the camel stopped, Yelda said, this will be my place for my mosque. And this is the place where he lived, where he had the people, where he had the people of love, when he had Ashab al-Sufa and all that. So this was part of the history that the beloved Prophet had during his lifetime. Also, when he went first to Medina, he did another psychological thing, is to do ta'akhi, is to make brotherhood between people of Mecca and the people of Medina. Person from Mecca going to Medina, he had no money and nothing, because they left everything behind in Mecca, just wanted to run. So when they arrived in Medina, they had nothing to do, they had nothing. So the beloved Prophet, with his wisdom, he took a person from Medina and a person from Mecca and put them as brothers. Not brothers by show, by reality, by these people from Medina would share their wealth, would share their homes with the people coming from Mecca, the Muhajirin. He managed to melt these people together, people from Mecca and people from Medina, Muhajirin, Ansar, put them together to live together and to believe and to support each other. This is the way to bring up a community, is to really give them that brotherhood. I wish and pray that this example of our beloved Prophet will be practiced in places of Islam, in places of Muslims, where you see Muslims fighting each other, Muslims trying to go into the... Unfortunately, this is the situation, but really we cannot and we should not leave it like that, that our Muslims are in this way, are so much divided, so much pain that goes on today without anybody stopping and saying, no, this is not Islamic. You cannot have a war for 8 years between Iraq and Iran. And look what's happening now in Syria. This is it's not Islamic in any way. But who's going to stop? Who's going to bring the flag of La ilaha illallah? And who is going to listen? So this is what we really, I think, in so much in need of, is real leadership to bring to us the example of our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It is really something that we need badly. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. His certainty, I think I mentioned this yesterday, about the message and about his belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he used to have guards, they used to guard him in case somebody tried to harm him during the night or during the day. And then when he had the revelation of an ayah to say, Allahu ya'asimuka min nas, Allah will protect you from people. So immediately when he had this revelation, he opens the door and he said, so and so, you are guarding me today. Go, I don't need you anymore. Allah is my God. So this is really the man of Allah who trusted. He had complete iman and complete trust in Allah. If Allah tells him, you are protected from the people, he will go into the middle of the people, knowing for sure nobody will be able to harm him. And this is a man that has nothing, really. He was promoting something untangible. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not somebody with a commodity that can show you, that can, attract you. So he was promoting the love of hearts from one heart to another, and how to open a heart and how to behave as a human being. And this is really what he was selling, something unseen, but people will die for it. He was the best businessman. La ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. Now, another touching issue. One of his daughters was married to people of Mecca, and he did not embrace Islam. but she embraced Islam. So when the Prophet went to Medina, she went with him, and her husband was behind. And then in the battle of Uhud or Badr, this chap was captured and was taken all the way to Medina as a slave. Now in Medina, they started to liberate people who bring money or to have an exchange or to use them to teach Arabic so that the children would learn the language. But usually there is an amount of money to be paid so that her husband to be released. Now his wife, the daughter of the Prophet in Medina, she wanted her husband to be released. And what she did, she took a necklace that she had, which was very precious, and took it to the people who were capturing her husband, and they said, fine, we take it and your husband is free. But that necklace went to the Prophet, and they showed him what they had from the various prisoners. And then you could see the necklace, and he recognized the necklace. It was a necklace of his wife, Khadija, may Allah bless her, that she had given it to her daughter when she got married. And the Prophet nearly cried to see this precious thing from his beloved wife given to his beloved daughter as a token to release and to free this man. So he brings this necklace and shows it to the people, and he said, this is it, and he tells them what it is, and it is really up to you to deal with it. And of course, all of these people, their hearts melted and say, let her have it. So they gave her back that precious thing that she had. She wanted to liberate her husband, but it is the wisdom again of the Prophet that he managed to bring the people together, to bring them with love, to bring them with understanding, to bring them to help each other. Because he loved for himself what he loved for everybody else. It is not something different. He lived by the day, he lived by the rahmah of Allah all the time. There's another incident which I really would like to talk about, is the Prophet ﷺ when he was in the Badiyah with his wet nurse that took him. They were looking after him to be safe, for him to learn the language and for him to have health of the fresh air of the desert. Then there was that incident which was for the Prophet to be taken by two people who were wearing white and like angels. They took him and they opened his chest, and they took his heart and they cleaned it and put it back. I mean, this is like a fantastic story, but the Prophet confirmed it, and he did relate this particular incident. So what did these people do to the Prophet right from his childhood? The way I can think of it, whether it is symbolic or it is true one, I mean, I believe in the Prophet, and if he said it true, it is true, is that they have taken that nasty lower self, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا, is that fujur, that sickness of the heart that he had inherited, was taken out from his chest. So our beloved Prophet was a different creature because he had that nastiness, that low self, that black, whatever it is in his heart was taken out. And that's why the Prophet had a different character in which nobody will ever be able to have. When the Prophet used to talk to people, he say, your shaitan did this to you, your shaitan pushed you this, your shaitan did. They said, Ya Rasulullah, what about you? Don't you have a shaitan? He said, yes, of course I have one, but I have blocked him. So this is really another thing altogether for us to realize that we do have whims and we have things that we think of that we want to do, and it is our strength, our upbringing, our character, our love for our deen, for our love for our beloved Prophet, who is the symbol, who is the example for all of us to follow. Then, when Allah says, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, Allah says to him, I will reward you and you will be content. وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى وَالْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى. He said, your akhirah is better for you than the dunya. But وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى, and Allah will give you, will make you radhi. Now what will make our beloved Prophet radhi in the Jannah? Is he going to give him another 1,000 camels? Or is he going to give him 100 wives? Or is he going to give him children? Is he going to give him anything? وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْطِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. So what is the rida of the Prophet ﷺ in that situation? His rida will be for Allah to forgive the rest of the Muslims. So that was the rida that he had in his heart for his people, for the people that he loved, for the people whom he cherished, for the people who came with him from Mecca to Medina to establish the community of Muslims. But we always have Muslims of various kinds, even during the time of the Prophet, when the Prophet advised them and instructed them during the battle of Uhud, that they should do this and they should do that, they should stay here and they should not leave this place and to protect, because the place where the enemies will come will pass this way. This is the place, guard it and don't move from that. But what they did, when the battle moved and they were getting spoils, that they were gaining all this thing that from the people of Quraysh, they managed, everybody was getting something. So the people who were confined this to protect, they said, oh, we have won, we don't need to stay here. So they broke the promise, they broke the word that our beloved Prophet told them to do and instructed them to stay where they are. They moved. And as a result of that, there was a gap, and as a result of that, the battle was not in their favor. They lost a lot of people, and there was a lot of blood, because they disobeyed our beloved Prophet. So can you imagine what's happening to us by disobeying our beloved Prophet? This is something which I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to bring us to another realm, for us to read, for us to understand what really Islam is. When we say Allahu Akbar, what does Allahu Akbar mean? Allah is the greatest, Allah is everywhere, Allah is Hafidhi, Allah is Hadiri, Allahu Ma'i. All these, so much that when we stand to do our prayers and we say Allahu Akbar, that means nothing really is important for me, no matter what, no matter how it is. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And then when we go Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen Rahman Rahim, we praise. And then comes to the point when we say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. We address Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like you, not like him. And this is really very crucial when you move into that stage of إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. This is really a heart shattering when you stand and say إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. Not Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, it's like another entity, but right, I am in front of him. إِيَّاكَ, you, إِيَّاكَ نَعْبُدُ وَإِيَّاكَ نَسْتَعِينُ. To you we worship, but also no matter what we do, we'll never be able to worship you as you should be worshipped. We are unable to do that. Imam Ali radiallahu anh says, I have not worshipped Allah because I was afraid of his fire. or I worshipped Allah because I wanted to enjoy the privileges of the Jannah. But I worshipped Him because I know He is worthy. He is worthy. He is the one to be worshipped. And this is the true approach, the true state of a mu'min when we stand and say Allahu Akbar, when we say Subhanallah, when we say Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. I can only say Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. I can only say Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. May Allah bless you, may Allah protect you, and have the message of Quran in your heart, in your mind, and to do reflections. As Shaykh Muhammad was telling us this morning, is to reflect, is to have fikr, and to see how the weaving of Tawheed right through creation. Anything that we can see, Allah says, وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمْ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Everything is subservient to you. Whether it is the sea, whether it is the land, the trees, everything. When you think of 1 minute, can I survive without anything around me? How can I eat? How can I drink? How can I breathe? All these, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it available for us in the most easy way. So we can say nothing else but Alhamdulillah, and you will never be able to say Alhamdulillah enough. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Summa Alhamdulillah. I thank you all for the time that we have had together, and thanks to Shaykh Muhammad to give us that opportunity, this lovely retreat. And I hope and pray that each one of us, when we go back, we have something in our heart, something that we have gained, something that has touched our heart. Let's look for it and cherish it and enjoy it and share it with all your friends and your beloved people. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.